Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So if you haven't been here before, my name's Beth and I'm a seamstress and I make knit and crochet everything content here and on Instagram. So as you'd have seen by the title of the video, today is just the January podcast. I feel like it's been so long since I've done like a proper one of these because I don't think I did one in November, and then at the end of December I did like an everything I made / like that month's podcast. So it feels nice to actually be getting back to like just a proper monthly podcast episode. So yeah, if you're familiar with these videos, I'll just be going through my finished objects for January, any ongoing whips that I've got, and any acquisitions, although I don't actually think that I have any, which, sorry, it's a bit of a spoiler. I literally can't believe we're already at the end of January. I'm actually filming this on the 30th, so I will probably get a little bit further on in my current whips, but nothing drastically. But yeah, I just feel like this month has gone so quick. I feel like I do have kind of like a little bit to share, but this month, because I've also been working on more products for my online shop, I feel like I haven't probably been dedicating as much time as I usually would to knitting. That being said, I still have knit a lot. Sometimes I do get the chance to get a little bit of extra knitting time in when I'm at work, if there's like any kind of like down periods. So yeah, this will just be going through the knitted stuff. I won't touch on anything shop related or any products that I'll probably maybe do a separate video, or if you're interested, I always post more up-to-date stuff on Instagram. But yeah, without dragging this intro on too much, let's just get started. So the first thing that I finished this month is actually this, I was going to say jumper then, this cardigan that I'm wearing. I will preface this as well by saying all of these pretty much are my own designs unless I tell you otherwise. So this is a self-drafted, obviously striped raglan, and I'm going to stand back so that you can maybe get like a better view. But yeah, this is what it looks like on top of my nice tracksuit bottoms. So I started knitting this in December, I think. So after I finished up on my gift knits, I started making this cardigan. So it's knit up in Drops Air in 2 different colours. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head what the colour names are now, but I will link them down below. So yeah, for ages I feel like I had this idea in my head. I actually had this yarn in stash since, I want to say maybe since the end of August, beginning of September. I ordered this while we were on holiday in Denmark because I was knitting on another piece in Drops there and I was enjoying it so much that I just ordered more. So yeah, I didn't actually buy it while we were there, but I did order it while we were there. But yeah, it's been sat in stash ever since, and this year, one of my New Year's resolutions is don't knit as many raglans because I feel like it's my default, but I did want to do a raglan for this because I wanted the stripes to fall in this particular way rather than doing like a drop shoulder and then these stripes go this way and then on the sleeves. Does that make sense? I feel like if you know, you know. But yeah, so I wasn't sure exactly kind of like what stripes I was gonna do, but I just went with these like quite chunky ones, which I think looks quite nice. And the goal for this was I wanted it to look like a blue cardigan with green stripes and not a blue and green striped cardigan, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so all of the ribbon is blue, so it's all 2x2 rib as well. Same with the kind of like neck button band sort of piece. And I also had never knit anything v-neck before, so I don't really own that many v-necks. I think I only own one other v-neck jumper. It's not my favorite neckline. I'm really particular with the actual v. Like, I don't like them too high, but I also don't like them too low to where like they just kind of fall off your shoulders. So I feel like in terms of like actually fitting my body, this kind of depth is pretty perfect for me. I was really happy with how this turned out actually. I really like it. I saw some photos for a little while going around with this cardigan. I can't remember exactly what it's from. It literally come up on like my Pinterest or TikTok or something, and it was kind of like an all over like scrappy striped v-neck cardigan, and that definitely really inspired this in terms of like shape and texture. If you haven't used Drops Air before, it's like a blown yarn, so it's essentially made up of like a polyester tube, and they like physically blow alpaca fibers through it, or at least that's like my understanding. So the result is like a super soft and also like lightweight yarn. I'm pretty sure I knitted this up on 5mm needles, which is the recommended needle size for this yarn, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I gauge swatched because obviously I already used this exact yarn before, and I think that jumper was knit up in the same needle size. But yeah, I am actually really happy with how this turned out. Like I said, I don't feel like there's too much to say about this. This is definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and I for sure don't own anything else like this really, but I think it's quite a fun statement piece. And I also realised at the end of the year that I tend to knit my pieces like slightly on the more cropped side, like not super cropped, but I tend to knit things between kind of like waist, like below waist but above hip level, kind of like a mid-rise jean level. So this year I have been kind of taking the time to like knit my pieces a bit longer, because as much as I do love my other pieces, I just want things that are a bit more versatile. And the thing is as well, as I've realised that I don't wear my knits really with things like short skirts, because I think that the knit and the skirt hit like a weird level. So I knit this a bit longer. I have yet to actually wear this out of the house, partially just because of the opportunity has not arisen. I wear a uniform to work. But yeah, the sleeves as well are super nice and long. I also made sure to kind of like taper these sleeves, because the other piece I knit in this yarn, I do need to go back and extend the sleeves on that actually, but I made them more wide, and I think I just prefer like a more tapered sleeve. Like I don't mind it, I like it to be like baggy but not like gaping. These buttons as well, they're, I don't even know how to like so my great nan, she is 96, bless her heart, she gave me a load of like old buttons. Like some of them are so old, like properly vintage. I don't know where I'll ever use them, but I was really like struggling to find buttons for this piece because I didn't want anything that was going to really stand out. So I was originally looking for buttons that were maybe in this like blue colour, but I got impatient and I couldn't find any online, and I ordered a couple different types, but I feel like they were too dark, like they were too much of like a navy blue, and I didn't want to go with a green. I feel like I'd had the same problem, and I was just going through all these buttons and I thought we'll try white and black and nothing fit, and I literally found that I had exactly 5 of these in my button box, and they're not a perfect colour match. They're definitely more of like a teal, I mean you can see, but I think next to the blue and green, I actually think that they look okay. Like they're not massively, like they're not jarringly different in colour. They kind of like match the palette, I would say. And I thought I was going to go for chunkier buttons, but I actually quite like the look of these smaller ones. So yeah, this is just how she's looking, I suppose. I feel like, yeah, probably not too much more to say about this. I've used the yarn before. Actually, I just did think of something more to say. I did also put German short rows in the kind of like back portion, and maybe to like in between the shoulder raglan points, and I was worried when I did it that I didn't really know what I was doing, and I thought that maybe it wouldn't give the effect that I wanted it to, but it actually worked out perfectly, so that was a big slay on my behalf. It just helps the back kind of stay up, I feel, and yeah, I'm so happy with this V. I'm like definitely gonna be making more V-neck stuff, and yeah, that is actually it for this one. So yeah, I knit most of this in December, but we finished it off in January. I don't know if you can hear that. Hang on. Oh, you definitely can't. It just got really, really static. Okay, so this second piece, and I don't think I've actually shown this finished yet. I'm so excited. Okay, so if you saw my green jumper, which I'll show you in a second, this is my second sample. So let me put this on. Also, I have not finished weaving in the ends for either of these pieces. I just tried to weave in some a minute ago so I could show you, but if you see some peeking out, just ignore that. So one thing I realised about knitting in black yarn is it really shows up every little fleck of anything. Yeah, I guess I'll hold these up next to each other. So this green one, if you've been on the channel before on the Instagram or anything, you will have probably seen this from last year. So I knit this piece last summer. It's just kind of like a simple drop shoulder. It's got these nice rolled edged details. The sleeves on this version are pretty wide, I would say. They do have some arm shaping, but not loads. And basically the shoulders are just like straight with more neck shaping, whereas this piece I incorporated German short rows into the shoulder shaping, and also I did like more tapered sleeves, which I really like. I feel like this is struggling on the camera. Hang on. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know if that is any better, but I did more tapered sleeves, and I don't even think I'm gonna be able to get this in shot, but okay, it's way longer than the green one. It's like a whole 25, I think, rows longer. Okay, hopefully it looks fine, but I guess I should probably tell you about the yarn. So I actually don't have any more in hank form, but this is the Rowan Island Blend Fine held double, because there is a Rowan Island Blend and then there's the Fine. So I think this is thinner than a DK. I want to say that the normal Island Blend is just a DK and this one's thinner, maybe like a fingering weight. But yeah, it's held 2 strands. So I kind of want to write a pattern for this. I had like quite a few people request this like over on Instagram, and I know that a lot of people are maybe like a little bit picky about their German short rows and stuff, me included. So when I knit that piece last year, I would say that I probably wasn't completely confident in like putting German short rows into things that weren't raglans. Even then I learned all about German short rows last year, let's just say. So yeah, the first one, it's got like a lot of neck shaping, but there's no shoulder shaping, and on me I feel like it, like the green one actually fits pretty well. Like it's definitely not super bad, I think, because of like the back neck is higher than the front, and it has got this extra kind of like shaping here. But yeah, I didn't want to release a pattern without the German short rows, and I really like this yarn, and I also just feel like this jumper is probably the piece that I got, like one of the pieces I got the most wear out of last year. So I thought it would be good to make another one. I also had never knit anything in black, which I seem to wear black a lot, so it kind of like made sense that I had a black jumper. And again, with making things longer, it's really annoying that like you can't see the bottom of this. It's like right here, okay, at the bottom of your screen, but I'm really looking forward to wearing this with like a little mini skirt or like over a dress, and it's just like such a basic, it's so comfortable. This yarn, I can't remember the exact percentages, but I'm pretty sure it's like a wool, alpaca and silk or something along that lines. Again, I'll link the Wool Warehouse links down below, but I feel like this yarn is one of them yarns, it's not like really soft, like the drops air, you touch it and think okay, that's soft, but it's also not rustic whatsoever. I feel like the best way to describe it is like it's a yarn that like doesn't bother you. You know when like the weather is like sunny but it's not too hot and it's just warm and you don't really notice the weather because the weather's just fine? I feel like that's the equivalent of this yarn. it doesn't irritate my skin. It's not overly soft, so like I feel like sometimes if I overheat in like soft fibers, you tend to like feel it and it gets all sticky and icky. But that's like so off on a tangent. I really like this yarn. I wanted another one of these jumpers, and this yarn is pretty expensive. So the green sample, this is exactly 12 hanks. This, I want to say, I bought 14 and I went just into the 14th. I would say honestly this is pretty much 13, because the problem is, if you caught any of the vlogs where I was making this, basically where I changed the neck shaping, I kind of like knitted the back, knitted the front, connected under the arms, and then realised I had basically miscalculated from my original sample and had like connected the arms, I want to say between like 10 and 15 rows too early. So I frogged and added bits, but where I had cut the yarn in so many places and tied new bits on, I had so many ends, and I feel like that probably is the bit that ate into the 14th hank, because I think literally all I used the bit of the 14th for was actually just part of casting off and the kind of like rolled edge at the bottom. So I think I could have just gotten away with 13, but it's not too bad. Obviously I can use the yarn for something else. But the other thing I will say with this yarn, it got black dye on my hands so bad, and I don't know if that's just the thing of black yarns because I've never used black yarn before. It was only when I was knitting for like prolonged period of times, I think just like where your hands have natural oils, I would notice it would be like kind of all the way across my palms and like on my fingers where I was tensioning the yarn. So I probably would not recommend this yarn for anything like striped where it could possibly bleed into another colour or like any type of colour work. But just for a piece on its own, it was fine, which is weird actually, because when I blocked it, I didn't particularly notice that lots of dye come out like in the water. It did when I was like squeezing it, but I think that happens with quite a lot of yarns anyway. But I was expecting like after all the yarn, or after all the colour coming off on my hands, I was like, this bath water is going to be like black. But yeah, I don't know, just a weird thing, just something to keep in mind if you want to try this yarn. But that was such a tangent. I was talking about the price. So this yarn's expensive. It's like, I think it's like £16 a hank. Maybe I don't think that's expensive, but it's expensive for me. The moral of that story was, when I bought the original 12 of the green, it was on like 50% off. So this jumper cost me, I think, just under £100, like £98 or something. I wasn't going to buy more of this yarn unless it went on sale, and then it did go on sale. I don't know if it still is, but I got this for 56% off. So when I bought 14 of the black, it actually cost me the same price as the 12 of the green. Okay, that was a really roundabout way, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to be hopefully writing up a pattern for this. So if you're interested in testing, definitely keep your eyes peeled. And on Instagram, I'll always kind of like announce things there. But yeah, I'm really just happy to have this as like a finished object. And when I took it off the blocking mats, I was kind of like worried that it was going to be way too long, because it covers my bum completely. But it's just so cozy, and I just love it. I feel like I will live in this. So they are my two finished objects. So I guess we'll get into the whips. This little Bolero thing, you will, again, if you've been here before, you may have seen me mention this. I'm going to take off the black, and then hopefully I can put this on and show you what we're working with. So I will say this yarn was sent to me for free, but not for me to like speak about or anything. So all the opinions I'll give you are completely my own. It was for something else. But yeah, this is a little Bolero. So the yarn is the upcycled alpaca silk from Hobby. So yeah, it's kind of in the name, isn't it? It's recycled alpaca and silk, and it's in how many different colours? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, so there's 6 different colours in this, and the entire shade range of this yarn is pretty neutral, and it's also not that extensive. Like I think there's maybe like only 4 more shades that I actually didn't use in this piece. There are like some pink ones and then maybe like some different browns, but I really like the way that the stripes came out in this. It's all over 2x2 rib as well, so this is actually after blocking. Really the only thing that I have left to do is to figure out what on earth I'm gonna do as a border, because I'm still really conflicted, and honestly that's the only thing that like is putting me off actually finishing this piece. So before I blocked it, obviously the rib was like really cinching in, and I really just didn't think that the shape was gonna work out. I feel like it's gonna be fine. I just need to put on a border basically just to keep all of this, like to pull all of this up and kind of like together. I'm thinking maybe of doing a double knit border. I was originally thinking I-cord, but I think I'd like one that's kind of like relatively chunky. The thing that's put me off doing it is that the pickup for this is going to be so long. So like I'm going to have to pick up all the way around the neck, down around the back, and then back up this side. And I need to kind of like do a little bit of testing to see what needle size I need to use for that, because I knit this all on 3mm. I think the yarn recommends a 4, but since it was rib I went down, so I don't know whether it would be fine to do the border in a 3 or whether I'd need to go down to like a 2.5 or a 2, which just sounds painful with how many stitches I'm going to have to pick up. So that is really what is putting me off finishing this. I was debating even like literally just doing like single crochets, but I don't want to like cut corners and then regret it later, because I just couldn't be asked to do a pickup. So for now it's just sitting as a whip. But yeah, like I said, I have blocked it, so it's definitely got a lot more drape and definitely like is baggier. The sleeves are a bit longer. Yeah, I feel like the best thing about this is its colorway and stripes. I honestly, if I was to make a Bolero again, I wouldn't construct it in this way. This is basically a raglan without the front panel. There's just things that I would definitely change about the shape of this, but there's no way I'm gonna frog this, especially after I weaved in literally all of the ends. I mean, you can imagine how many ends there were for this. So yeah, this has just been on the needles for a while. I do really need to finish it off, but for now it will just live in this state. In terms of the yarn's super nice. I feel like it's, if you're sensitive to alpaca, this is not as bad as normal alpaca. I think again because of the silk percentage, the same as that Rowan yarn. It's very soft, it's very nice, but I will say it's really like slippery to knit with. I found that like I was kind of like dropping stitches more than I usually would, so I'm not sure if that's a me thing or if that's just because the yarn has a bit more like sheen or whatever to it. But yeah, I just need this to be done like yesterday, and unfortunately it's not, but I think it'll be super cute when it's done. I feel like it's a cute little thing, like maybe to wear in the spring and summer with a little top. And yeah, I definitely want to make more striped things in the upcoming year. So I would say that really that is somewhere between an FO and a whip. She's like nearly there. All these other ones are gonna actually be actual whips. So I literally started this next one on Monday. I feel like I have actually made pretty good progress, kind of like because of what I said, like I've had a bit more time to knit at work. So this is actually something that I said I wanted to make in my spring, like winter spring plans video. So if you saw that, then you'd have probably seen the idea that I had for this. But I've been seeing a load of these little like short sleeve kind of esque cardigans. So if you can imagine like the Maggie cardigan by Patina, I feel like that's probably something that a lot of people would know, but I really wanted one with more texture. So this yarn I had in stash since I think like maybe July last year. Again, we got some more Rowan. I only really get Rowan yarn when it's on sale, so this was on sale in Hobbycraft. It was just random, I saw it there. I don't think all of them stock it, but it was, I want to say £6 a ball down from 9. So this is the soft yak DK. It's 76% cotton, 15% yak, 9% nylon, and it's like a chain net, if you can see that. It's also not like a solid colour. There's definitely a bit of like variation running through. It gets lighter and darker. I don't know how well you can see on the camera, but there's all these little like black things, which I'm assuming are the yak. This yarn is definitely much softer than a cotton, I would say. It is soft, but I wouldn't say it's soft in the way that like the Drops Air is. It does feel very nice though, I will say. But yeah, if you caught the spring plans video, you'll see that obviously I wanted to make one of these little short sleeve things with cables. So I was going through, let me find my gauge swatch. I was going through a couple of the like stitch books that I have, because I do have quite a few, and this was the one that I settled on. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it actually is kind of less complex than I think it looks. So it is a cable, but it's basically like an uneven rib that you end up cabling, so it's actually not too bad, and you only cable like, I think it's every 10 rows. Since it's just here, I'll show you this. This was the original one that I swatched, which I do like and I probably will use for something else, but funnily enough, the one that's still pinned to my mat is actually, in my opinion, more, I don't want to say difficult, but just more annoying to knit than the bottom one. And I think that this just looks super interesting. I think it looks like a lot of hard work. But yeah, like I said, I literally casted this on Monday, and I feel like this looks so small and so like weird because the cable pattern is so cinched in, but you've got to imagine it's gonna look like this, which I think is so pretty. I was worried after I did like the first portion of this that this yarn, it wouldn't be like super visible, but I actually really love the way that it looks. I feel like in a way it almost reminds me of like the Jenny, like petite knit Jenny sweater, Jenny jacket, all of that stitch. It's obviously it's not. I think it's because it has like the straight bits and then kind of the bits that come in, but obviously it is a completely different stitch. So as you can see, okay, so the big panel is the back, and I've started knitting over one of the shoulders, so I guess I can like kind of hold this in place and you can hopefully get a vibe. So I have, like I said, I've come over one of the shoulders, I've started shaping the neck, and I'm going to be knitting this flat until about here, and then yeah, this is like what the back looks like. This is really not the easiest thing to be showing. I managed to, you know, have some big brain energy, and there are German short rows in the very top of this. I'm a little bit not concerned, but like I think I maybe could have done more German short rows, but it is what it is. We ain't changing it now. And yeah, I did kind of have to rack the old brains a little bit when doing this neck shaping, because obviously where the button band is going to be, so I'm going to have like, it's going to be a crew neck with a button band, but my plan is to like wear it done up like a t-shirt, and then it's going to have like little sleeves. But the problem that I was having is basically like where the stitch repeat stops in order to do the button band. So I think what's going to end up happening is I think that the front in total, like when the button band is done up, is going to be a couple of stitches wider than the back. But I also think that that's going to be completely fine, because although I'm quite like short, I do have a bigger bust, and so I don't think it's going to be a bad thing to have more fabric at the front, because I think all it will kind of like help do is, like, you know, when you put a cardigan on or something that buttons up like a shirt and you got boobs and they just kind of like, it pulls apart and you get them like little gapy holes. I'm hoping that having more fabric at the front will help combat that before it even becomes an issue. So yeah, this has definitely been challenging me, because not only have I never done this stitch before, it's also just a lot like of maths, like figuring out where's best in terms of measurement but also stitch count and things. It's not just like in stockinette when you can just like, oh, just fucking whack an extra stitch there or take a couple from here. It's got to all kind of be like pre-planned. And then on the back I've started doing some armhole shaping, which again I'm not exactly sure that this is going to be a deep enough like yoke section, so that's why I just decided to pick up for the front. I thought I'll knit forward on both sides and then maybe either mid-block or try it back on and see if the arms are deep enough, because I do want it to be like relatively tight fit. Like I don't want it to be like a drop shoulder, but I also don't want it to be like up in my armpit, you know what I mean. I think as well, like I think that this yarn will be quite suitable for this particular piece, because one of the issues I always think of when I see these little short sleeve cardigans is like, what fibre do you knit that in? Because if you knit it in wool, like you don't really want to be wearing that in the like spring and summer, but because this is such a heavy cotton percentage, I feel like it should be fine. And I also want to knit a jacket, if you saw that other video, in 100% cotton, so I feel like this is going to be a good judgment for me if I do that in cables as well, because that is the plan. In that video I haven't knit anything in completely cotton full stop, but I definitely have never knit cables in cotton, and I wasn't sure how it's going to hold up. I definitely rushed to take my gauge swatch off of the blocking mat before it was fully dry, so I feel like this is not as defined as it could be. I'm anticipating that when I do the final thing it will maybe be a little bit wider, but worst case I will maybe steam block it after I wet block it if I'm not happy, but I think it should be fine. But yeah, I'm also going to be making a complete project vlog of this, start to finish, all of my decision making, thought process, everything. So if you're interested, hopefully that will be up in like a couple of weeks after this video is up. Okay, so we are nearly there. So last year I knit my first pair of socks from this book. It's the Summerly Sock Project book. If you're into knitting whatsoever, you have probably already seen this. It's actually really good. As someone that has never knit socks before, I also have 2 weeks of socks that I have never used, but yeah, I found this really helpful. And again, in my goals for this year, which, you know, pat on the back of me for following them, said that I want to knit more things that are also like just functional and useful and not just like jumpers and cardigans. So socks was one of them. So I've started knitting, this is in like such a weird state, a ribbed sock. So this looks so funny because obviously the rib is just cinching. This is actually what it will look like. So as you can see, I've done the whole of like the ankle leg portion, and I'm nearly done with the heel flap. So this is heel flap and gusset construction, which is the same as the original pair of socks that I did, but they were just sort of stocking out with like a ribbed cuff, whereas these are going to be all down rib and then rib on the top of the foot and then stocking out under. I find that sock projects and stuff are just really good to like carry around with me because they're so small, they fit in a bag. This sock yarn, I can't remember exactly what it is because I've lost the label. I think it was called, I think the yarn brand is maybe like Wendy. It's just a really typical yarn. It's like wool and nylon. I will say it's not the nicest feeling thing ever. It like, it kind of feels cheap. Is that like bad to say? I did buy this in Denmark in a Spar, which is like a supermarket-y thing. I really like the colour. I feel like it'll be good basic. I knit these longer than the first pair that I'd made as well, because my intention is that I can wear these in boots, but I'm hoping that this yarn like not even softens up, but just kind of like gets better with washing. I think it's fine. I mean, worst case, if I get to the end of this sock and like I'm really not sure, maybe I'll wash and block it and then knit the second one. But yeah, I think that the colour is super nice. I think that the rib looks really nice as well. It's just, yeah, I literally started this week as well, maybe on Monday, so I feel like I'm making good progress. And lastly, I think I might have even mentioned this maybe in my, what was it, everything I made last year, because I actually did knit this in December and not January, but I knit myself this like really basic like fold down mitten, and obviously I haven't done the thumb yet, but I had some people ask if I could do like a video tutorial on this. It's just like really simple, so I'm thinking maybe of doing that. The yarn is it's a Eco Melange. I don't know if this is gonna, okay, so that's what that looks like, and then this is how it knits up. And actually this yarn feels really nice, and I actually really love the way that it looks. But yeah, I'm thinking of making a video tutorial on these, so definitely let me know if you want to see that. I don't think it would be too hard to do. It just might take a little while because I'm gonna have to film it when it's sunny, which is not very frequently, so I can't really do it in the evenings or anything. But yeah, this is self-drafted. Had to frog the top bit originally and re-knit it a bit longer because I knit it a bit too short, but apart from that it's gone quite smoothly. Got some shaping here. Obviously I do need to do like a little thumb portion, but yeah, I don't think too much to say about this. I just thought I'd show this quickly because it is kind of like an ongoing whip, but I've been waiting to knit the second one until, yeah, like I said, I can kind of film it if people want that. My boyfriend bought me that yarn like maybe 2 years ago now, so I think he's glad that I'm finally using it. So yeah, I think that is everything for January. Like I said, I didn't actually have any acquisitions. I think the thing that I most recently bought was the black yarn for that jumper, but I actually bought that at the end of December, I'm pretty sure, because yeah, that's when the sale was on, so I don't know that it still is. But I'm not like on a super strict yarn ban, but I also like don't have much of an urge to buy more yarn because I do have like a pretty significant amount in stash. Like I said in my goals video this year, I only want to buy a new quantity of something if I've worked through 3 or 4 quantities previously. So like if I knit up 4 jumpers of yarn that I've already got, then I can buy another jumper's worth. Or if I knit up 4 lots of sock yarn, then I can buy another sock yarn. But I can't see myself really buying yarn too soon. There's nothing that I need particularly to finish off projects or anything, and yeah, like I said, I just don't have a massive urge, because I think now that I've allocated projects to my stash yarn, it's making me feel really excited about the things that I already have, and I just don't need more anytime soon. But yeah, if you made it through to the end of the video, then thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I'm going to be writing up a pattern for the green and black jumpers, so if you're interested in testing or anything, please feel free to message me over on Instagram. That's probably the best place to reach me, and once I've written the pattern up and graded it and everything, I will be putting tester forms up on my Instagram story and stuff as well. Sometimes the YouTube videos run like a couple weeks after I've actually filmed them, so it's definitely more up to date over there. Yeah, if you're interested in any of the shop stuff, I will leave the link down below. I will hopefully be doing a second drop. I want to say at the end of February. I'm making my way through all of the stock now. I'll actually be working on that in a minute. So yeah, and then also my granny square jacket pattern is up on Ravelry and the website and Etsy, which will be linked below as always. And yeah, I feel like that's enough of all of that. So hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.